A one, two, three, four. I love succulents and you do too. They're so beautiful, fun and new. The gift that keeps on giving on and on. So watch my videos, we'll all have fun.
Was my first epic fail Mexican snowball. They're so pretty. But again, I've learned my lesson not to buy anything from big box store because they overwater these things, and by the time I get to it and I try to revive it, they're no longer able to recover because they've already started out with a rot. So this is the Mexican snowball that I had way back July 2018. And so actually, I probably got this from San Francisco Cactus and Succulent Society just because of the way that um, the tag is, the label is. So it was planted in a lot of peat moss, and we all know that peat moss will hold the water. I mean, on some maybe cactus plants or something like that, it's okay to like hold the water because their roots are really thick, and it probably doesn't bother them too much. But this is a really soft Echeveria um, type plant that I know is not going to be good. You know, sometimes when you generalize everything, thinking that just because it's a succulent or a cactus, that it would do well with the same soil, it doesn't. So with like these soft leaves, echeverias, or any soft leaves, kalanchoe or whatever, as long as they're babies, it's very important to start them out with the right, exact right soil. So this is what happened to this one. And so this is a goner, and I have to buy me a new one. So I did buy me a new one right after this, and I will show you that coming up. And here we go. This is the brand new one. It kind of has a blue hue to it too. But don't get married to it because when they grow into mature plants, they start to change colors and it becomes kind of like a jady green and lighter and stuff like that. But this particular one is pretty healthy and it's shooting out just as it is right now as a baby. It's been shooting out a lot of good pups out there. So I knew from the start that this is going to be one that will succeed. And I'm just really happy because look at the how healthy it is as opposed to compared to the last one I showed you. This one has like sturdier leaves and you can tell that it's healthy. So this is a tip that I'm giving you guys when you go to box stores. Not all of them are bad, but you have to really know how to choose the plants. Some plants, they start off, they're healthy, they can take all the water that you give them, but some plants are already like doomed from the start. So this particular one is a good one, and obviously it's going to be successful from what I'm going to show you next 2 years later. So this Mexican snowball for 2 years have been thriving, and look how it is right now. It's like overflowing. It's going over the big pot that I repotted it from, the tiny pot that I had shown you earlier, the second one. And now it's time for her to be repotted again into a big planter. And the planter that I'm using right now, I filled this up with like empty bottles, empty plastic bottles, those small, not the whole 2 liter ones, but maybe half a liter. Yeah. But I kind of filled up the planter because these guys are shallow rooters. Even when I pull this out, you'll see how it is root bound going horizontal, not vertical. So these kinds of plants, and she's also a sun loving one. So hopefully, she does really well in this location. I think she will, because it's a pretty mature plant. So it's been through the test of time, and it can only get better from here on out. And also, I'm going to plant other things around it, just so it looks full, and that she's probably going to take over the whole pot. But at least I would have, right now I would have things that are planted around her, so that the planter would look full. But I filled it up with those bottles, the empty plastic bottles, because these guys are shallow rooters. So this planter is full halfway, and the rest I put more soil on top of it. And you'll see here in a minute. There we go. See, I filled it almost to the top, but not quite to the top. And then I'm just going to backfill it. But see how shallow this is a huge plant. Look how shallow the roots have grown. So I'm not concerned about the bottles underneath it. It's already been proven. I've had a couple of big planters before that I've used to just fill, so I don't have to. I mean, because it doesn't really make sense if you have shallow rooters and then you're filling up the huge planters with so much soil. It's just a waste of, number one, it's a waste of money. Number two, if it's so full and it's all the way down to the bottom, like the water would just it would kind of get waterlogged, because you know when it goes all it has to go all the way down, and then it has to dry all the way down instead of just drying halfway, and being able to when you keep watering it, it's not just going to be waterlogged underneath there. So here I'm having a hard time trying to figure out how to plant this, because it is now in a different planter, which is a lot bigger, but I don't really want to like half of the plant cascading over, because the closer they are to the soil, the more they're going to propagate, I believe. So it's not going to stay there. I don't know, because if it's exposed to like the sun and the rain, all that stuff, those little tiny stems would eventually rot and fall off. Not that it's going to matter, but I just want it to stay full as it is right now, for longer than, if it falls off. Like, look at it, it's already falling off right now. So I'm going to reposition this. Trust me. It's not going to stay like this. Trust me. So right now I am thinking and strategizing. That's why I keep repositioning and positioning, going to like fill it up. I didn't really want to fill it up with so much soil that I'm going to have to remove it later. But since it came from a planter that's kind of smaller and more narrow, it wants to fold under. fold up under. So here, I'm just going to reposition it. I'm not going to fight it. I'm just going to lay it on the soil itself and then backfill it that way. So this is what I'm doing right now. I'm backfilling it so that all the roots will be covered up. I'm only going to cascade over just a tiny little bit, not so much, just so it could give it a chance to, for the little ones to go over and then hold on tighter. And I mean, if it falls off the vine or if it falls off the mother plant, it's not going to be such a big deal because if it falls on the ground, it'll be able to start off from the ground. And these guys, if there's anything that you want to propagate a lot of, this Mexican snowball is the best. Once you get it to this size and this full, it's going to just keep going and keep going. And I've seen it at the succulent garden. Yeah, the succulent garden, how they're so compact and so tight when they grow around each other that it's just so beautiful when they're more mature and they have all these pups just going everywhere and just getting going crazy. Okay, so now I decided, like I said, I decided I'm going to not fight it and I'm just going to let it, because if you saw in the beginning in the little pot where it's just sitting in the middle and then it happened, it just started to grow and then I had to put it in another pot and it's just sitting in the middle and then they just keep growing until they grow over over the edge of the planter. So right now I I just realized, why fight it when I can just plant it the way they want to be planted and then just let nature happen. And when nature happens, it's just going to be cascading over. And I hope I'm not, I tried my very best to compact the plastic bottles underneath. And I know that from the weight of these plants, it's not going anywhere, or the weight of the soil, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to like flatten up underneath it. And I know that because I've done it before and I've actually had to repot a bigger planter and remove all the plants out of it because they just overgrown. Some of them are just leggy, some of them are just, you know, starting to get ugly and just all over the place. So when I removed it, and I actually filled it with, believe it or not, those plastic things that they put in the shipping, the ones with the air in the middle, like a puff, those things. And when I pulled all the plants out and I pulled all the soil out, those are still intact, believe it or not. So I know that not just this planter, but the other two planters that I have in the front here, same thing. I just put recyclable plastic bottles, and that'll save you money, that'll save you effort, that'll save you the weight also. If I decide that I'm going to move this planter somewhere else, it's not going to be that heavy for me or for my husband if we both move it together. But if it was full of soil, it's going to be very, very difficult to reposition it in a different spot in my garden. So yeah, that's the best thing for that. And I'm just going to fill this, and I'm just gonna speed this up a little bit so that you guys aren't so bored with it. Because you know how to do this already, right? And I mean, if you slow it down, if you really wanted to see every detail, you can slow the video down, and then you'll see every little step, I took. Here we go. So see this little kind of a worm-like thing? That's how they escape from the in between the mature plants and grow another pup. And this is a jade plant, a golem, also called shrike ears, and this is a pallida, Echeveria pallida. And I rescued this from the back where like all my neighbor's leaves are falling on it, and I was starting to get mealybugs and stuff. So I rescued it, and it also likes the heat and the sun, so it's going to do very well in this planta. Okay, I know it's kind of messy right now, but it'll soon make sense. I put my hot dog plant I just removed out of the mothers in the back, and this is the Echeveria pallida. These are Echeveria elegans, Mexican snowballs, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tsunamis, and this is the Naspomeranian for some height. And I'm pretty sure that these are going to fill up. And once they do, I can just remove all the bigger ones later on. But I put the string of bananas here too, just to add some cascadings down there. But it's kind of messy right now. Oh, this is the Shrek plant. And we'll see what happens. Lord help me. And you can never underestimate the power of thrift stores. Look at these 2 cute little bunnies, true to the theme that I have going on in the front yard, or in my whole garden, are bunnies. So there's just 2 of them tucked underneath there and just filling up some space, and pretty soon they're going to get evicted from there because the Mexican snowball are probably going to try to grow over them. Enjoyed this little snippet of another element added to my garden. It makes me so happy every time I see that it's all coming together, and the more space that I tackle, the better it is, because I'm just slowly and surely building this up as the best that I could with the time that I have. I'm only one person. I wish I had more people to help me out. But there is one thing to say about doing it on your own, because then when you look at it, you know that this is all you. This, like, every part of this garden was solely from your hand. And well, my husband did a lot of things too, the heavy stuff that I couldn't do. But here you go. And if you're wanting to know what the plants are, there you have it. Thank you so much, guys. XOXO. Love ya. Bye.